Hi, and welcome to Tracy Momi Reads. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Instead of reviewing books that I've read, I'm going to be talking about books that I've written. So yes, like I talked about in a previous video, I have 5 books in the marketplace, and I'm going to briefly talk to you about each one and tell you where you can get them if you're interested. All the books that I write are fiction books, and they are based on relationships, whether it's romantic relationships or friendships, family relationships, between siblings, parent, child. But basically, they're all about relationships because I just like writing about how we all connect and deal with each other through dialogue and through actions. So, the first book that I wrote, well, let me back up. First, I have been writing since I was like 13 years old, and I've told this story many times, but for those of you that are new to my channel and to my story, I will tell you that I used to write a lot of like short stories when I was like 13. Most people journal. I would write short stories to kind of work through issues and things like that. So it wasn't until after my mother passed away in 2012 that I started thinking seriously about, you know what, I think I want to publish a book. And back then it was just kind of like a bucket list thing. I want to publish a book and put it out and see how it's received. But 5 books later, with one in the works, it's just been a journey that has just brought me so much joy, and it's truly one of my passions. So the first book that I published was in 2015, and it is called What Was Missing. What Was Missing? Okay, I'm going to read the little blurb on the back. Patrice Toussaint moves across country, running away from a failed marriage, and realizes that being on her own isn't easy, but she learns that she's a lot stronger than she ever imagined. Malcolm Dupree has managed to outrun his past and reinvent himself in a way he never thought was possible. But soon his past catches up with him and makes him question everything. When these two meet, it's explosive, and not in a good way. Their mutual dislike for each other is more than obvious, but after Malcolm rescues Patrice from a sticky situation, they develop an unconventional friendship that soon turns into more, and the missing pieces of their lives start to fall in place. This book, the idea for this book came to me from when I was writing back when I was in my teens and early 20s. I had written a story about this record company, because I was like a big fan of Uptown Records, right? And it was kind of like a play on all of that. But one of the characters in here that Patrice works for, his name is Larry. That is one of the characters from a story from decades ago. And I just kind of brought it forth and kind of put in some, secondary characters, which actually became the main characters in this story, What Was Missing. I have a very, obviously, it's like when you have children, that first experience is just always something special. And this just really has a special place in my heart. I feel like I have really grown as an author since then, but it still remains one of my favorite stories that I've written. So, What Was Missing? Be sure to check that one out. The second book that I wrote, and you know what? I'm going to say that book because, I've used pieces and bits and pieces from the past. That one took a lot longer to write. It was years in the making, so to speak. Whereas with some books, like my second book, I wrote like within a few months. And it'll be an image of the book here in the video on one side here. But it was called Nothing I Can Say. And the reason why I'm showing you this frame is because I wrapped up the book. If you watched my video where I did the tour of my bookshelf, this is the only copy I actually have of the book, and I wrapped it up to match what I was doing here for the theme. But Nothing I Can Say is a book about, and unfortunately it's all taped down, I can't even read the back of this, but this particular book, it is about a couple who they're married, and I think they've been married for 7 years, and Sydney and Kevin are the couple's name, and they have been trying to have a child, and with no luck. And then one day Kevin gets served with papers saying that he has a child for somebody else. And that is like the catalyst for this whole thing where they start going to marriage counseling. And when I was talking about The Silent Patient, I was talking about how, I'm really intrigued by stories that feature psychiatrists or people that are in therapy. This entire book pretty much, is based on their counseling that they go to try to get their marriage back on track with the guy, their doctor, Dr. Kennedy. And there's a big secret that comes out that kind of like explodes midway through the book, and we find out some things that happened in the past that may be a reason why they're having issues. So yeah, this I'm showing y'all this like you can see it, but yeah, this I really loved writing this book from Dr. Kennedy's perspective and how he viewed what was going on between Kevin and Sydney. So yeah, nothing I can say. That's another good one. My third book, An Emotional Appeal. This book, can't believe I'm telling y'all this. This book was actually a fan fiction story that I wrote, and I repurposed it and changed all the characters' names and updated and had it edited and turned it into my third novel. And I'll read the blurb on the back of this one since it's not covered. Regina Valentine is at the top of her game as a defense attorney for a prestigious Houston law firm. Benjamin Fontaine is the latest hotshot associate at the district attorney's office. They are two of the city's top lawyers, but both are haunted by their past. Will these courtroom rivals trust each other enough for a chance at love, or will a high-profile case end their relationship before it has a chance to get started? I have had people tell me this is their favorite book that I've written, which I think is kind of hilarious given its origins. But I love this story as well because it goes off the rails in so many different ways. And like as you can see, there's like kind of theme with most of my stories. It's always about the past coming back to haunt us because some things won't stay buried or can't stay buried. So yeah, this is a really juicy, quick read if you're looking for something that has a different kind of element, because there's a trial, which is a story in itself that takes place in this particular book. And this is An Emotional Appeal. And by the way, all of my books are available on Amazon. So you can go out to Amazon or you can link through my site. You can actually go to my site, tracymomi.com. And I have, there's excerpts from all the books and there's book trailers. So you can kind of look and, get a better feel for whether or not it will be your cup of tea. But I promise you, all the books that I've written, and I'm not just saying this because I'm the author, because I'm also a reader, I feel like they are gripping, page-turning, and, it would be something that you would find entertaining. My fourth book, Here You Come Again. You can kind of tell by this cover what's going on here. This is a love triangle. So hopefully y'all didn't think that was some Illuminati stuff. This is a love triangle. And let me read the blurb on this one. Angela Barnes has a dream job as a marketing executive for a Fortune 500 company in Manhattan, but her personal life is far from perfect. She's adjusting to life as a single woman after breaking up with her fiance, Rodney. An invitation to her 15-year high school reunion changes her life in a way she would have never imagined when she comes face to face with her ex-boyfriend, her ex-high school boyfriend, Xavier Ross. Things get even more complicated after both Rodney and Xavier return to her life, and Angela has to make a decision that causes her to question everything she thought she knew about herself. So this is one of those books where you can, are you Team Rodney? Are you Team Xavier? Are you Team Angela? So I really enjoyed writing this one. The majority of this, most of my books, I switch points of views between the main two characters. But in this particular book, the bulk of the story is told from Angela's point of view. But we do get to hear from Rodney and Xavier at the end. They kind of rehash, what they were thinking and what they were going through most of the book. But yeah, this one gets a little steamy and a little juicy too, because of course, when you have the back and forth and what is she gonna do or what isn't she gonna do, and just so you know, Xavier is like a famous musician, so there's a lot of drama that comes with that particular lifestyle. And Angela has to ask herself, is she ready for that? One of the most fun things about writing this particular story was the relationship with Angela and her family, her brother and her mom. Her mom is a trip. I kind of had Jennifer Lewis in mind when I wrote that character. But before I get to the last book, I just want to say that all of my books, I have Pinterest boards that have the dream cast. So I probably won't do that at the end of this video, but if you're interested in seeing also who I would cast in my own books and my own movies, if movies were made out of my books, you can go to my Pinterest page, and you can link through my website, or if you go to Pinterest, it's Tracy Momi Creative. All right, and my last book, I released this one in October of 2019. So I was about to say last year, but last year was 2020. How can I forget that? Love or Something Like That. This one was a little bit different because it's actually 3 stories in one. 3 shorter stories that are all connected. Because like in the first story, there's a character that I take from there, and then we continue her story in the second story in the book. And then in the last novella, a character from that second novella, we continue his story there. So there's a thread that runs between all of them. And the 3 stories in there are Burning Questions, Close to My Heart, and Covert Intentions. And the first one, I'm not going to read the whole blurbs, but the first one, Burning Questions, is about these couples who get together for game night, and they play something kind of almost like Have You Ever, or I've Never, or Have You Ever, or whatever the game is called. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Where they ask questions, and it's really spooky and suspicious how the questions are very specific to their lives and their misdeeds. The next one is one of the characters from that book. She meets a guy at a coffee shop after breaking up with her cheating fiance, and they, are trying to just be friends or whatever because they've both been burned by bad relationships. But there's a progression that happens there. And then the last one, it was actually my favorite one to write because it has I love FBI and covert operation type movies, and I attempted to do a novella because I don't know that I have the stuff to write a whole book like that with all the detail and all that stuff that's required. But in this one, the guy, he's sent to infiltrate a crew of thieves. Like, he becomes a member of their team, but he's in the FBI, so he's working undercover, and he runs into his ex-girlfriend who has been keeping a big secret from him. So yeah, the main theme of this book is about forgiveness, and I have this quote on the back. It says, it is an act of grace to forgive. It is an act of love to offer yourself another chance. And that's from the 4 Agreements author, Don Miguel Ruiz. So yeah, this one I'm really proud of. After writing this, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I think I'm going to do this all the time, just write shorter stories and put them in all in one book. But I have several things in the works, so I don't know. I do have another book like that I'm writing. I don't know if it will be my next release though. But yeah, this one was a lot of fun to write. Yeah, and most of my books, I want to say this one is probably the longest at 350 pages. But, they're decent, 285. What is this one? Right at 300. So there are some decent reads with regards to page count, and I have to have a whole nother conversation about how I feel about that because I'm a kind of a stickler for it. I like to give people, their money's worth, not only with an engaging page-turning story, that you could talk about, but also, I don't want you to just be like getting a pamphlet and the story's over like in 10 pages. Anyway, so yeah, so those are my 5 books that I have out, and like I said, I'm working on more. And I have had the pleasure of doing book clubs with people. I'm in the Houston area, so I've done about 3 or 4 book clubs. I have one virtual one scheduled in March. And for all of my books, I always have like a launch or an event where I invite people to come out and we do like a lunch or a brunch and talk about the book, and I may read excerpts or something like that. But yeah, it has been an incredible journey. And if you're someone that's watching that has read my books or purchased my books or have supported me in any way, thank you. I sincerely appreciate it. And if you're not, head over to my website at tracymomey.com and check them out. You won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching this video. Please make sure that you like it and subscribe and tell a friend. Bye.